Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as we journey to some of Italy's most beautiful places in the company of those who know them best, the families who grow grapes and make fabulous wines. Through their stories, we will learn not just about their wines, but also about their ways of life, the local and regional foods and specialities that pair naturally with their wines, and the most beautiful places to visit. We have a wonderful journey of discovery ahead of us, and I hope you will join me. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today we travel to Umbria, the green heart of Italy, to meet Teresa Severini of the Lungarotti Winery, one of the pioneering wineries in Umbria. It's great to be in contact again, Teresa. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Oh, thank you, Marc. It's so nice to hear you again and to be in contact. And thank you for letting me talk about us. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's a real pleasure. First of all, I'd like our listeners to get a real idea of where you are in Umbria, of Umbria itself, because it's a very special place.
Umbria is a region right in the center of Italy. There are no coast. It's inland. And Torgiano is right close to Perugia and Assisi, just to let you know a little bit about the famous places. And Torgiano is a medieval village, a small one, 15 minutes from these two cities, and easy to reach. Not so much, but difficult to leave, because when you come, you stay so well that it's a pleasure to stay. And I love my country, I love my places, and I would like to share with the people we are talking to the peaceful place we are living in.
Yes, actually, I have such fond memories of the times I visited you in Torgiano. It's a really beautiful place, and it's a beautiful whole complex that your family has created. In fact, the entire wine zone of Torgiano didn't exist until your stepfather, Dr. Giorgio Lungarotti, came to the area to establish a new wine with a new mentality. He's really one of the pioneers of the modern renaissance of Italian wine. Can you tell us a little bit about this family story and how the region has developed?
Yes, thank you. Yes, he's really a pioneer. He was a visionary man and decided to give a new life, because he understood very well. He was graduated in viticulture. He understood that the place had a potential, a great potential. So he had to change things from the tradition, because the wines were already known for being nice wines, but he wanted to create great wines. So he started to work the land, changing a little bit the way to grow the vineyard. When I say a little bit, I say a lot, because there's been a lot of revolutions in the wine field, in the vineyard, in the winery, and so he changed it a lot. But he was humble, and he wanted to visit before creating all this. He visited a lot of France, Germany, other countries, to see what was creating a difference from the tradition here. And so he started really a new age. And he was the first in Umbria. As a matter of fact, we received the first DOC in 68. So it was the fifth DOC in Italy, and one of the very first DOCG later. So that's the proof that what he thought to do the difference was right. And he started, today, it's so easy to think of changing in the styles and so on, but go back to the 60s, late 50s, early 60s. It was something like really a revolution, and people could say, this man is mad. But he was right. And together with my mother, who was with him forming a couple excellent, superior, I would say, they started to talk about wine and about culture. And this was making a great difference also, and giving also a great attention to a specialized tourism on wine. Today we call it enoturismo, but at that time it was attracting people on wine days to live a territory which is so beautiful and so dedicated to the wine production.
Yes, it really was visionary in so many respects then. And of course, we have to recall that in the 1960s, the countryside itself was completely different. This was a time of the mezzadria, of mixed cultivations. There wasn't a specialized viticulture.
Yes, Giorgio was one of the first to close the Mezzadria contracts, and he re-employed all the people, the Mezzadri, as salariati. So he was forming an equipe very tight to him, and shall I say, with us too, because we have the children of them working for us again. So it's a continuation of dynasties, shall I say.
Yeah, that really was so important. And it actually was very early to be doing that in the 1960s. Today, the Lungarotti Winery is headed by you, your sister Chiara, and your mother, Maria Grazia, still is overseeing the Lungarotti Foundation. Is that right?
Exactly. Shall I say that also my son Francesco joined us, Francesco Zaganelli, and at the foundation where I more and more active together with my mother. Also, my daughter Gemma arrived. So it's a continuation of families, as you see.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. And I'll look forward to meeting them when I next visit you.
You must come, yes. Gemma is a historic of art, like my mother, and Francesco is taking care of all the export. So he's one of the front men, as you can say, in a women winery.
Right, yes. Well, in fact, you were the first female enologist when you qualified in, was that in 1978?
Early 79, yes, but because I worked for 3 years on a technical thesis on the aging of red wines. That's why I graduated in 79 instead of 78. And this was really something shocking because it was not a female field. For many years, I've been the winemaker here. But also I took care of the promotion abroad. And then more and more, I moved to the marketing and communication sector. And now more and more on the Lungarotti Foundation because I'm so fond of the fact that culture and wine, they have to go together. So,
Yes, yes. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the foundation and activities in a moment. I'd just like to draw our listeners' attention to some of your flagship wines, wines that I've been very fond of over the years. In particular, the cru wines, the Torgiano Vigna Il Pino and the Rubesco Vigna Monticchio. Can you tell us about these? Because the Rubesco certainly is what people think of first when they hear the Lungarotti name. But these are wonderful wines that I think are amongst the great wines of Italy.
Yeah, I agree. This year we won the first placement with together with Sassicaia, the best red wines in Italy. Red wine in Italy. So with Rubesco Riserva 2016, and this was great proud for all of us. For my sister, for me, for Chiara, but remembering the passion that Giorgio put on this wine and also the passion of all the young people working here, because this is another point that I have to emphasize, is a young winery. And that's very important. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of working on this. And so the placement, such a placement for the Rubesco Riserva was fabulous. But you're right, Torrigiano Vigna Il Pino, which is the white counterpart of Rubesco Riserva, is a great wine. I remember Edmund Penny Russell writing about this in 1980. He was drinking a 1970 of this wine. He put an article on this saying, I was astonished to see how an Italian white wine can not only last for 10 years, but even grow in this year. And that's the real thing. It was much before the fashion of white wine in wood. It's partially in wood, but in the same time it keeps flavor, elegance, and body, and is not the wood is not overpowering, not at all. And this was going back many years ago. Today is still the same wine, fantastic for wine lovers, and it is a couple, Rubesco Riserva and Torrigiano Vigna Il Pino, very, very nice. On the label, it's nice also to point this. On the label, you have a detail of the Fontana Maggiore in Perugia, which I love, and it's the best, the most beautiful fountain for square from the 13th century. Uh, Again, is a tie between art, culture, and wine, and go back many years ago with this label.
So these are two wines that are flagships of Lungarotti, and they also celebrate the traditional grape varieties, the Sangiovese, Trebbiano, Grechetto.
Absolutely. We experiment clones and so on since many years ago. We think that of course the quality is already settled in the vineyard, so you have to find the right place for the right grape, for the variety, and then obtain more and more and more. And that's what Giorgio gave us as a statement and a legacy, shall I say, and that's what we do. And for many years, we have been very tight with Denis de Bourdieu. Unfortunately, he's no more on this land, but he died a few years ago. But is a man that I respect with all my soul. When I studied in Bordeaux for my specialization, I met him, his wife, the family, and I found a great personality in wine, also a great friend. And after Giorgio died, he started to be our consultant. So he started to give us a new idea of keep on the revolution, let's say. And I thank him for having a lot of suggestion. So we still have the Italian style, but with a deep attention to the soil, to the vineyard.
Really expressing the terroir of Torgiano.
The terroir of Torgiano. And you know that now we have also another winery in Montefalco. That is different because Sagrantino is a special grape, so different from Sangiovese. And the land also is different. So thanks to our experience inside the vineyard on the soil, that we kept the right way to grow Sagrantino, to propose a Sagrantino which is not too aggressive but very pleasant and round. That's what we like on the wines, to be pleasant, to be drunk, and not only a glass but an entire bottle.
Yes, yes.
Great. So, but we have many wines, different kind for, wine is something that you have to match with your food, with your occasion. So it's not only one kind of wine, but many. We also have San Giorgio, for example, which is a combination of Sangiovese and Cabernet Sauvignon, We have Aurente, which is a great Chardonnay, but we have many.
Yes, you have a wonderful range of wines, an extensive range. And I think what I've liked following the Lungarotti story is this blend of tradition and creating new traditions, new wines.
I like this. Yes, I agree. We created new tradition.
Now, let's turn to the culture of wine and wine hospitality, because, again, you were pioneers here at a time when I remember when we were researching our Wine Roads of Italy book, which was in the late 80s and came out in the early 90s. You already had in place a really important complex of hospitality and culture through the Museum of Wine, which is I think one of the great wine museums in the world. So extensive and important in not just showing how wine was made, but in placing wine in the context of culture, art, and it's a beautiful project.
Something that everybody must know. I mean, first of all, is not the Museum of the Wines Lungarotti, but is I mean, the foundation has the activity to expand the culture of wine. But the two museums, because it's a wine museum and an olive oil museum, are two art museums. Shall I say decorative art and history of man? And for example, talking about the museum, the wine museum, my mother always says the name wine museum is not enough to explain what is it in, because really is of course the history, the tools, etc. This is a part which cannot avoid, but mainly you can find museums inside the museum. Let's say, for example, the ceramic. We have the most important collection of ceramics on one theme existing, going from the Middle Age to the Renaissance to the modern time, the contemporary art, or for example, let's say some name: Jean Cocteau, Joe Tilson, Kano Tatsunori, Caruso on the contemporary, but we also have pieces from Girolamo della Robbia or from the botteghe, the most ancient botteghe in the central Italy. Then a collection of ancient printings. Ancient because we go from Mantegna, for example, but we arrive to Picasso. So it's a long time period that is observed through more than 600 drawings or printings. Or we have the archaeological findings going back to the third millennium before Christ. So 5,000 history of the civilization on wine. And also we like to do something to create a dialogue with modern exhibition of art, contemporary art. For example, in this moment, we have Andrea Tana, who is an American grown in England and then in Paris and now in Umbria. And it's so beautiful to see this dialogue because the conception is not a museum with dash, but a museum which is dynamic and talking different languages. Of course, that one of wine is the more important, and the Lungarotti Foundation is very active also in the education of drinkings, the respect for wine, and the sensibility to this. And my mother has written different books, me too, on this field because I think that young they have to be educated to the moderate drinking. The second museum is the Olive Oil Museum, and it came very late because the wine museum is born in '74, and then of course up to dated continuously. The Olive Oil Museum was created after Giorgio's death because it was a legacy from him to have also another museum on this beautiful product of our land, which is the extra virgin olive oil. And so, with my mother, the historic of art. She created the two museums by herself. She created the Olive Oil Museum. But as you have told, wine museum is considered the most important, shall I say, in the world, not only in Italy, because of the collection inside.
I would say so, certainly from anything I have visited. And I would urge all our listeners who are possibly traveling to Umbria to make a point of visiting the museums and the Lungarotti Winery. Now, I know that welcoming visitors is also been central to your approach almost from the beginning, and also this hospitality, the linking of wine and food. Wine isn't something that just exists outside of the context of living. Can we talk a little bit about hospitality and the typical foods of Umbria, the typical foods that pair so well with your wines?
Ah, for sure. Hospitality, culture, and wine has been always very tight here. Also because it's such a place for land, such a place for territory. So it's so easy to put them together, where you have the pleasure to stay, to live, the pleasure to drink, and the pleasure to eat, and of course to match the food. And we have agriturismi. In Torgiano, there is also the Trevaselle, which was a hotel, a five-star hotel that we created, and now is run by other people because we wanted to focus on the agriturismi. And we also have different places where to serve food. Of course, always very attentive to the quality, to the bio, and to the ancient recipe of Umbria. So when you say which food, which recipe to match, it's not easy because generally, can we say that in Umbria the food is more poor in the seasoning, but very tasteful in the quality. And so there is a lot of meats, very very good, very important here, but also some fish, not from the sea coast, but from the Lake Trasimeno or from the river. And we have some cakes special, a salted one, which is the torta di Pasqua, which is a salted cake with cheese. Fantastic! It's only from this place, and we eat it for Easter. And we also have the torta al testo, which is sort of a bread, very thin, not like piadine, but a little bit thick. But we used to eat with prosciutto. We have a wonderful prosciutto, ham, salted and spicy, and other charcuterie, because in this region there is Norcia. You say Norcia is the land of charcuterie, and fantastic. We have cheeses like the pecorino, which is excellent with rubesco, with aurente, with Torrigiano Vigna Il Pino, and cappelletti, which are different from the tortellini from Modena, very exquisite with different meats from this land, and a lot of greens, legumes, and vegetables. A lot. On the seasoning we use the extra virgin olive oil, which is very mild in the same times very flavored. Is is the child of this land.
Okay, so the oil and wine have been there since, I guess, since Etruscan times.
Absolutely, yes. When you visit the wine museum and the olive oil museum, you can follow this long history of the civilization of this land. And I think that an experience is the visit to the winery, of course, the tastings, but also the visiting of the wine museum and tasting the food all together. That's our feeling from the beginning.
Yes, and I think in that way one can really, through taste of wine, taste of food, really begin to understand not just a place, but also the culture of a place. And you have put that together beautifully in the activities you offer. So I hope that some of our listeners will be visiting you in the future.
Thank you. You have all the information on our website, of course, and on the videos you can see here and there. But when you come, you will really touch the main things that we have done since the last time you came. And the new visitors, I'm sure they will fall in love with Umbria, with Torgiano.
I'm sure they will too. Well, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you today. I'm delighted to be back in contact, and I look forward to seeing you again, perhaps in the year to come.
Thank you. I hope to see you here, really.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Mark. Ciao.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Please remember to like, share and subscribe right here or wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at italianwinepodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.
Guys, I'm Joy Livingston and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to italianwinepodcast.com.